Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our Big Ten football predictions today, and our next team is coming off an 8-5 season, but ended the season with a devastating loss to South Carolina in their bowl game. But they returned 17 starters and look like Big Ten title contenders. They are the Michigan Wolverines. Last year, Michigan went 8-4 in the regular season and had a fairly young team. They only had one returning starter on the defensive side of the ball and really could never find that identity on offense. They played three quarterbacks last season in John O'Corn, Wilton Spate, and Brandon Peters, but they've solved that quarterback issue now with the transfer of Shea Patterson from Ole Miss, a solid dual-threat quarterback who should really spark some life in this Michigan offense, and their defense is going to be much better than what they were last year. They were still a solid defense last year, but only had one returning starter. This year, they returned 9 returning starters on the defensive side of the ball. We'll have a solid secondary led by David Long and Tyree Kinnell, and also have a solid defensive line led by Rashawn Gary as well. So the defense is going to be much improved from what they were last year. And last year, like I said, they weren't too bad on the defensive side of the ball. This year, they're going to be even better. Offense, Shea Patterson coming in at quarterback. They have Karan Higdon and Chris Evans at running backs, so two very solid running backs there. And then Donovan People-Jones, a very solid wide receiver, going to be one of Shea Patterson's biggest and favorite targets going into this 2018 season. So this Michigan team is certainly dangerous. A lot of people have them picked second in the Big Ten East behind Ohio State, and they could certainly challenge Ohio State for first place in that division. So they open up the season against Notre Dame, and they're renewing their rivalry. This is going to be the first meeting since 2014. The last time that Michigan came here in 2014, they lost to Notre Dame 31-0. And I expect that to be a lot different this year, but it was 4 seasons ago, so things have completely changed. It's going to be a really fun quarterback battle, I think, between Brandon Wimbush of Notre Dame and Shea Patterson of Michigan. Both dual-threat quarterbacks, both not exactly the best passers in the world. Wimbush completing less than 50% of his passes last year. This is going to be a really interesting one. I expect this game, though, to be a defensive battle. Notre Dame returning 9 starters on defense as well, and really should improve from last year. They had a solid defense last year. I expect it to even improve this year. So you take this Notre Dame defense, pit it up against this Michigan defense. It's going to be very, very strong this year, and you could expect a fairly low-scoring game here, maybe 17-14, 20-14, somewhere around there. Not very high-scoring, in my opinion. However, I'm going to give the edge here to the Fighting Irish. This is one of those games I think is the second most highly anticipated game of opening Saturday, the first being LSU and Miami. But I just see Notre Dame getting this win here with it being at home, with them renewing the rivalry, with them having, I think, a little more chemistry there because Wimbush had played with Notre Dame last year. He was the starter of last year. Shea Patterson's coming into a new system with a new team, having to develop the chemistry early on. It's a very hostile environment. South Bend, certainly not an easy place to play for your first career start with a new team. And I'm going to give the Fighting Irish a win at home. And a Fighting Irish team that I really think could get to a 10-win mark or maybe better on the year. Michigan returns home with 2 fairly easy teams there with Western Michigan and SMU. SMU, not a team they want to overlook, but not one I'm too concerned about. Sonny Dykes coming in after Chad Morris left to take the job at Arkansas. They have a solid quarterback in Ben Hicks, but I'm not too worried about that. And then they start Big Ten play against Nebraska. Now, this is going to be a fun game here with Scott Frost coming from Central Florida over to take the head coaching job at his alma mater with the Cornhuskers. Nebraska, though, has another solid defense as well, so I could see them shutting down Michigan a little bit, but their offense is what concerns me. They're going to probably start a true freshman at the quarterback position. They have Stanley Morgan as a wide receiver, so hopefully if that freshman quarterback can get some stuff going, Morgan will get some receptions in his senior year. I really have a lot of respect for him, done a lot of good things for the Cornhusker program, but this game is at the Big House. I don't see Michigan losing this game to a Nebraska team that I think will struggle in Scott Frost's first year, and they will be lucky if they can get to the 6-6 mark, so another win for the Wolverines. Now, they go on the road to face Northwestern, a Northwestern team that was much better last year than they're going to be this year. They lose Justin Jackson, their star running back, but return their star quarterback in Clayton Thorson and have a very, very strong offensive line. So maybe they can slow down that Michigan pass rush. And I believe Northwestern's coming off a bye week coming into this game, and it is on the road. So this is certainly not a game Michigan wants to overlook or take lightly, and I doubt they will. What Jim Harbaugh has done for this Michigan program has done a great job with them. I don't think they're going to overlook any opponent after what he has done these past 3 years as head coach of the Wolverines. But at Northwestern, not an easy place to play by any means, but I think the inexperience a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, because really Clayton Thorson is going to be their rock. Despite having 6 other returning stars on that side, he's going to be the strength of this team. I think Michigan's able to go on the road and get a big win over a solid Northwestern team that will return to a bowl game. Pat Fitzgerald always doing a good job with them. Maryland back at home at the Big House. Maryland, a team that I really liked last year. Wish they had made a bowl last year, but were hit with so many injuries. They're going to have a solid offense. Got some key transfers on the defensive side of the ball, but the offense will certainly be their strength, whether it's Tyrell Pigrome or Kasem Hill, who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Terrapins. We don't really know exactly yet. I think it's going to be Kasem Hill. Nonetheless, it is at Michigan. This is a Maryland team that is going to probably be around a 6-win, 7-win mark, or maybe a little less than that. I think Michigan takes pretty easy care of the Terrapins here. Another win there. And then a big, big showdown against Wisconsin, one that will really affect the standings in the Big Ten and will really boost Wisconsin's or Michigan's resume, depending on who wins that game. Wisconsin, by far the favorite in the Big Ten West. I mean, they're really the biggest threat in that division is going to be Iowa, who last year did beat Ohio State by 31, so certainly no pushover there. But they have a lot of talent with Alex Hornibrook. They have Jonathan Taylor. They returned the entire offensive line, so that's huge. Not only for protection for Hornibrook, but for Jonathan Taylor, who is a Heisman candidate, a great freshman season last year. He's going to have a solid line to run behind, so that's going to be big for them. Last year, this game at Wisconsin was only a 24-10 game. So you look at how solid Wisconsin was last year, going undefeated in the regular season, and Michigan able to go in there and only lose by 14. And then the year before that, in 2016, this game was held in Michigan, and they won that game 14-7. Michigan won that game 14-7. So, you know, this is going to be a really, I think, once again, defensively battled game. Although Wisconsin only returns, I think, 4 starters on that defensive side of the ball. Their offense is actually going to be their strength, unlike it has been in the past, where their defense has been their strength. But all that said, having been said, I think Michigan gets a big-time win at home over Wisconsin. I'm going to give them the edge at home just because of their home field advantage. I like Michigan's offense going up against this Wisconsin defense. I think the Michigan defense is going to be hyped for this game. I think they're shutting down Taylor pretty early, and they're going to have Hornibrook win this game through the air. And I think he has progressed. He won at the Manning Passing Academy, won their quarterback competition there. So he's obviously has progressed a lot over the offseason, but still has some struggles last year. I don't think he's going to be able to win this game on the road, especially if it comes down to his passing abilities. Michigan State, big-time rivalry game here. They returned 19 starters, including their quarterback, Brian Lewerke. They returned L.J. Scott at the running back position, 9 starters on the defensive side of the ball from a team that went just 10-3 last year, so a very solid year, and they returned 19 starters from that team from last year. They allowed just 20 points per game last year with their defense, and they returned 9. So this is going to be another solid team, and it is being held at Michigan State. The Spartans came in to Ann Arbor last year and won 14-10. That was when Michigan was number 7 in the country. So that was a big-time upset. Really what I think started the kind of the end of the season for Michigan, where they started to pick up some losses there and really started the beginning of Michigan State, got them back in the rankings, saw them rise pretty high in there, upsetting a couple of teams. But I like this Michigan State team a lot. With this game being on the road and with the talent that Michigan State has this year and with the coach that they have in Mark D'Antonio, I just don't see Michigan going on the road and beating the Spartans. Michigan State has really had Michigan's number these past couple of years. You know, that infamous blocked punt that they had against the Wolverines. You had last year where they went back on the road and beat the Wolverines in that one. I just don't see Michigan going on the road and defeating the Spartans here. I'm going to give them a loss there. Michigan State, a lot of people have behind Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, but certainly could be a team that could surprise the people in this Big Ten East. So a bye week, and really, if you look at that, they do have 2 losses, but they only have 1 conference loss to the Spartans. So Michigan certainly still in the race for Big Ten championship. They come after a bye week and face Penn State at home, another big-time game that's going to come down to the standings, really affect the standings and affect who's going to be playing in that Big Ten championship game. Last year, Michigan lost that game 42-13 to Penn State. The year before that, they won 49-10. That was in 2016, back when the game was held at the Big House. So Penn State loses Saquon Barkley. They lose a lot of defensive playmakers. They only have 3 returning starters on defense. They do return Trace McSorley, so that's big for them, getting their quarterback that returns there. But this game is coming off a week of rest, coming off a loss. It is at home. I really think Michigan's going to take pretty good care of Penn State. Not going to be an easy game, but we saw Michigan blow Penn State out 2 years ago. We saw Penn State blow out Michigan last year. We could be set up for another blowout this year, depending on how Penn State looks this year. I think it's going to be close for about a half. Michigan pulls away. So a win for the Wolverines there. And then pretty easy games here at Rutgers and Indiana, 2 of the weaker teams in this East Division. I can go ahead and mark both of those down as a win. You know, Indiana gets Brandon Dawkins in from Arizona, the transfer quarterback there, but has a weaker defense. Rutgers, even though it is on the road, you have to keep in mind the last time this game was played at Rutgers, it was a 78-0 win for Michigan. And I hate to say it, but I don't think much can change that drastically in 2 years. So Michigan's not going to win this game 78-0 again, but they're not going to lose this game, and I really don't think it's going to be very close. But Rutgers should improve from their 4-8 season that they had last year. And of course, this sets up the big game, the game against Ohio State on the road. Now, last time they played at Ohio State was the big win-or-go-home game, number 2 versus number 3, the 30-27 controversial ending in that double overtime game where Ohio State won 30-27, knocked Michigan out of the Big Ten title race and the college football playoff race. And Ohio State, of course, winning that game, winning the Big Ten championship, and making the college football playoff. Now, Ohio State, once again, has a fairly solid team. They got Dwayne Haskins coming in at quarterback, losing J.T. Barrett, but he showed some signs of brilliance last year when they played Michigan, where he really made his debut in a 31-20 win for the Buckeyes. I've learned to never doubt Urban Meyer, despite the talent that he might have, the starters he may have lost. Nick Bosa is going to be their anchor along that defensive line for the Buckeyes. It's on the road. It's going to be a very close game, but one thing you have to keep in mind here is the 115th meeting between Michigan and Ohio State is on a 6-game win streak. Michigan has not beaten the Buckeyes since 2011. It's on the road. This is going to be another solid Ohio State team. I just don't see Michigan going on the road and winning this game. If they do, I think they win the Big Ten East and potentially win the entire Big Ten, but I just don't see them going on the road beating the Buckeyes. I think home field advantage for the Buckeyes and the talent they're going to have on that offensive side of the ball is going to give them the win there. So a loss for Michigan. That's going to give them a 9-3 record. I know that's not what people want to hear. Some people think they're going to go 10-2. Some people think they're going to go maybe even 11-1. They certainly will not go undefeated with the teams they have to go up against on the road at Ohio State, on the road at Notre Dame, on the road at Michigan State, and then no easy games against Wisconsin at home, Penn State at home, and Northwestern. So it's not an easy schedule for Michigan, and this will be a very much improved Michigan team from last year, but I only have them improving by 1 game because of the schedule in the teams they have to face. I know they have them losing all road games, but look at the teams they are losing to. A Michigan State team with 19 returning starters, Ohio State with 12 returning starters, but led by Urban Meyer and a solid quarterback and plenty of solid recruits. And then a Notre Dame team that some people, yes, that is the one loss that I think I could go either way on. That maybe Michigan could go in to South Bend and win that game. So if there's a loss here that could turn into a win for Michigan, it's going to be that Notre Dame game. But right now, with it being a Shea Patterson's first career start at Michigan, being it on the road, probably going to be, I think it is at night. It's just all these factors coming in there that I just don't see Michigan winning that game against the Fighting Irish, but it will certainly be a classic game. So 9-3 for the Wolverines, a fairly solid year. The defense is going to be extremely solid, and I really am excited to watch this offense led by Shea Patterson and all the firepower they have on that side of the ball. It's going to be a very, very fun Michigan team to watch. You're not going to want to miss any of the games they have. 9-win season could easily be a 10-win season with a bowl win. So another solid year for the Wolverines. As always, please check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert and on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert, and always here on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.